Satnam, everyone. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to another episode in our ongoing series, Your Miracle Mantra Moment. And those of you who will be arriving over the next few minutes, please take a moment to let us know where you're logged in from, your name, and through the program, if you have questions, you can feel free to put them in the comments. And for those of you who are listening or watching, I should say, after the program has finished, you're watching a recording on Facebook or YouTube. You can also put questions there, and we may not get back to them immediately, but we will try to get back to them. If you have a question that's specific to that program especially. All right, so today we're going to be, of course, starting out by chanting the mantra, the shabad, Dhan Randas Kurajin Siriya Tine Savaria. And then after that, I'm going to be talking about the process of manifesting your prayer, manifesting, engaging in the prayer, in the process of prayer, and how we can think of that, how it may be helpful to all of us to sort of revisit what our methodologies might be, what our priorities might be as we pray. Jesse, good to see you. Flory, thank you for joining us. And I'm believing that Kiran Deep is also, there. My cursor was covering you. Anyway, welcome Kiran Deep as well. And those of you who haven't put your names there yet, that's fine. Welcome to you. So those of you who have been to this program before probably remember that I like to offer you two different ways to do this with me. One is simply to sit and either meditate silently with the words of the shabad as I sing them, but I hope you'll sing along as best you can. Kiran Deep did put the words in the comments section. If you want to click on that to expand it, you can see the Roman or the transliteration as well. And the second way to do this is as a meditation, which has a mudra, and you take your right thumb up in the air and you wrap your left fist around that thumb, not too tight, just comfortably, and then you take your right fingers and come up along the back of your left hand, and then you just hold that mudra at your center of the chest. Arms are relaxed, elbows at your side. And again, you can meditate silently, or you can chant the words along with me. And when it's done in that, with the mudra, it's also about letting go of fear that we often have during this time of COVID-19 about what's coming next, what are the dangers, the perils that we face in the days to come. So if you have any of that and you want to help to ease and release that, then using that mudra may help you. So I'm going to start now, and welcome Prakash and Hayan. Nice to see you. So I hope you'll join in. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. Welcome to those of you who have arrived recently into our little online gathering here. Winnie from Holland, great. So, as I stated earlier, we're going to talk a little bit about how to connect through prayer and how to connect to Guru Ram Das through prayer. And you know, these are ideas. They are not intended to limit you in any way. So if I miss something in terms of covering ways that you can be effective as you approach the act of praying, then that's up to you to pick up those other pieces that I didn't mention. And so I'll do my best, but just know that this is not necessarily the only ways that we can connect through prayer. So I'm going to just cover a few points. And in the meantime, if you have particular questions about this topic, that would be great. Put them in the comments, and then I'll address them as we go through this. So, prayer is a funny thing. There's a saying, there's a parable, I should call it, in Gurbani, actually, it's from the Guru, that when the roof of your house is on fire, that is not the time to begin to dig your well. In other words, you don't want to wait to do something that's very, very important until there's an emergency, but rather to practice, understand what prayer is for you. Each of us may have a different way of understanding what that is, but we don't get expert at doing it if we only wait till the last minute. So we should feel, well, even at the best of times, we may forget to pray, but we seek, even in the, as I say, even in the best of times, we seek to feel that connection to the divine. We feel that we want to have that for its nurturing, for its sense of calm, enrichment, energy, whatever you may define that. It is that connection that we seek that leads us to be meditative, to have a practice on a spiritual path, reciting mantra, reciting Bani, whatever it might be. Underlying all that is our desire to feel that connection to the divine, to the infinite, divine, creative force at the heart of this universe that we live in. We seek, in the challenging times, like we have right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, we seek this much more urgently. We seek that comfort and a relief from the overwhelm, from the fatigue, or even a sense of panic around what's going on in the world around us, especially where we feel we don't have much agency, we don't have much impact on how that pandemic is going to unfold around us. We can do what we can to protect ourself, but meanwhile, the storm may be going on around us. So how do we connect to the divine? Well, prayer is the most effective way that we have, or prayerful action. And I'm going to talk about prayerful action a little later. But prayer is a very direct way that we can have communication or communion with the divine. And so in this discussion, I'm trying to focus it even more narrowly down to how do we establish that connection with Guru Ram Das. Well, we have to understand what Guru Ram Das was, is, for you, for me, for everyone, we have to understand that. So the first part of Guru Ram Das is Guru. So maybe you have an idea of what Guru is, and maybe there's aspects to it that might be a little mysterious. But simply, Guru is that which takes you from the darkness to the light. And for those of you who have done your level 1 Kundalini Yoga teacher training, you'll probably know that line very well, because that's something that gets taught, ingrained into the students in that process. But also, Guru is a doorway to the infinite, to your connection to your own infinite self, to the divine within you. And when you find that, it becomes very, very significant. You can maybe touch it, experience it initially, maybe through hearing a shabad or hearing a mantra or being in a meditative practice and having a kind of breakthrough and feeling very deeply connected to something. I remember, I had little insights as I was in my 20s, trying to understand what this connection would be for me. And it actually started with the sound of the gong. If you've ever heard a gong played in a meditative way, then you understand what I'm talking about. I felt the waves of that sound penetrate me so deeply and seem to go in between the atoms of my body and continue on. And it was in that moment of realization that I understood not just the way that sound works, but also the way that we are all connected through that vibratory energy that we are all feeling and projecting and exchanging and communicating with. So it was a very powerful realization for me. And so as we try to establish this connection, it is that we are seeking a connection that is inspirational, that inspires us to want to stand taller, fuller into ourself. And the Guru is that which continuously of who we are, what we are, and how we are connected to the divine. And it's hope in yourself, but hope in the divine, hope in the world around you. Wherever you seek hope, it comes through that connection. Guru also delivers divine, essential, infinite truth. Satnam, it is the source of that kind of wisdom. Without interruptions, without interpretation, without embellishment, you can find truth as you seek that connection to Guru. Now, the Guru can take many, I'll call it forms, sometimes formless, but in our Sikh path, we know that there were 10 gurus in physical form, embodied. In form. These 10 gurus, they even used, many of them, when they wrote their compositions, they would sign Nanak, even though, Nanak was the first guru. The other gurus understood that they were carrying that light of Guru Nanak through each of them, through the whole 10 gurus. They were also the embodiment of that light of Guru Nanak that was established at the beginning of that time. But also, each of the gurus was a personification of an archetype. They each carried and delivered particular virtues and qualities that inspire us through the stories of their lives, through the words of their compositions. They each brought something extra to make it a complete picture of the gurus. So now if I think about just focusing on Guru Ram Das, there's a whole lot of stuff to understand about Guru Ram Das. So Ram means God or the divine, and Das means servant. So Guru Ramdas means he who takes you, or one who takes you from the darkness to the light, being the servant of God. And that's pretty amazing as a name. And so there are qualities that Guru Ramdas brought that were recognizable, and we all talk about them even today. He had such compassion and such humility. The stories of the way he exhibited that are many. And he served the needs of those people around him, humble people. He would help take care of them, serve them food. But he also had a great sense of humility. He wasn't this grand kind of majestic figure alone. I mean, yes, he could be that, but he also knew that when it was time to serve, that persona needed to be put aside so that he could focus on doing the work of helping people. So great humility in that. And so that's what we often look to when we think of Guru Ramdas. And therefore, because of combining that sense of compassion and humility, it is where we seek a miracle, healing, comfort, overcoming obstacles. Guru Ramdas is a source of that kind of inspirational impact into our life. And there are many people who will share lots of stories about how they were praying to Guru Ramdas and something amazing happened in their life. And you yourself will have to find that experience. Listening to those stories is fine, but each of us has to walk that road to connect to the miraculous energy of that divine entity called Guru Ramdas. Now, you may connect to Guru Ramdas maybe through his picture, although it's not accurate. We don't have any images of Guru Ramdas that are from that time that are necessarily accurate. But you may connect to his words, his Gurbani. You may just connect to this shabad, which was in praise of Guru Ramdas. You may connect to a mantra like Guru Guru Vai Guru Guru Ramdas Guru. Whatever methodology you use to connect to Guru Ramdas, he may be, for you, an energy, an entity, a cosmic being that you feel you can connect to through beyond time and space, beyond the limitations of this realm of life. And that's fine, and many people have that connection. But another way to connect to Guru Ramdas is to see his qualities, his archetype, living within you. And by that I mean that as you meditate on him, as you meditate on the qualities that he manifested and the words associated with him, either his own words or words about him, that as you do that you feel that energy of compassion and humility and great strength growing within you. Strength to hold up under the pressure of times and still be able to be compassionate, still be able to be humble. That in itself can be a miraculous experience within yourself. So now we get to the part where we try to understand, well, what is the process of prayer? We now understand a little bit about Guru Ramdas, but how do we actually enter into that space of connection with Guru Ramdas? So many of us have grown up exposed to ideas about prayer from perhaps our Christian, Judeo-Christian um, heritage. But even if you have been were born in a Sikh family or Hindu family or any Buddhist family, you may not necessarily have had any direct discussions around understanding what prayer can be. So the media often presents prayer in this Judeo-Christian approach. That is, we are seeking, we are petitioning to a distant divine entity, you know, a man with a gray beard in the clouds kind of thing. And that he is all powerful, he is usually he, not she, and that we are seeking intervention on our behalf, that we need that to come and change something in our life or in us. You know, I think of the old Janis Joplin recording of, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz?" You know, so we think of solving physical or material challenges by calling on the divine to intervene and provide what we think we should have or deserve to have. Well, that is certainly the way that a lot of people approach prayer. But I am here to offer another way of looking at this. Because at the heart of Sikh teachings is the idea that that the divine is in everything. It is not distant. This concept of ek onkar, that there is a oneness of the divine flowing through everything, manifesting within everything, everyone, every atom of our bodies is connected through that divine connection of oneness. And that as the times are moving forward into moving away from the Piscean age and moving into the Aquarian age, that we are more and more as humanity moving toward embracing the idea of that oneness. And therefore, as we pray, we no longer use the language of beseeching or requesting a distant divine to intercede, but rather we have to approach it from a different angle, that the divine is already present. The divine is manifesting in every moment. And so we have to sort of change the way that we approach prayer. So one of the things I like to understand about prayer is that this is going to be a little hard to explain, but let me try. As we pray, whether aloud or silently, it's still our voice. Our voice in the moment of prayer is embodying our finite self. You know, we're engaged in the struggles of our finite life. And so that voice is an expression of that. But the other end of the equation, that which may be listening, if you'd like to say it that way, is the divine self that also lives within us, that we have both residing within us, our finite self and our infinite self, our divine self. And that this divine self is the infinite expression of the divine. So we have the finite expression and the infinite expression, both from the divine, but in this kind of strange paradoxical polarity, if you will. However, in my understanding, this is a very important process for the universe, because through the finite projecting and imagining and calling on an intention, a new way of being, becoming, that as we do that, then that is what is manifest, causing the universe to manifest in a different way. That as we pray, the universe manifests. As we pray, the universe expands. So we are in that role of prayer, we are helping to expand and manifest the universe. So it's a cosmic kind of equation or conversation that takes place that is really kind of at the heart of why we exist, who we are. It's a way that the universe can expand into its potential as we imagine our potential. Often when we pray, we don't acknowledge our own role in the delivery of the outcome of prayer. We seem to think, well, we prayed for it, now we just let God. And there is an aspect to that, you know. We do need to surrender to what may happen. But there is also an aspect where we need to own our own role in manifesting the prayer. We need to also make a plan. There's a funny story about a man who prayed and prayed and prayed that he should win the lottery. Every day he prayed for hours and hours, and it went on for years and years and years, praying to win the lottery. Finally, God, in frustration, appeared before him and said, I cannot let you win the lottery until you buy a damn ticket. Meaning that we have to also make a plan to initiate some steps to enable the manifestation of that prayer. So I've talked a lot about prayer for the last 20 minutes or so, a little more. Why don't we take some questions? So any of you have anything on your mind? Those of you who arrived newly to this cuckoo thing, okay, and Sandra, MTA Corporation. So, and the rest of you who've been here listening for a while, there must be something that you are thinking about in relation to this. But I'll go on. Maybe you can, if something comes up, you can put it in. So I already talked about how we want to pray more often. So here's a thought that I hope you'll remember. Prayer should not be our last resort. It should be our first thought. Meaning that if we want to have a flow, a strong connection to the divine, then waiting until an emergency or waiting until it's really vital that you feel that connection and then trying to make that connection is harder than if you do it on a regular basis. So like a daily routine, if you are already doing some kind of a spiritual practice, then you might like to integrate into that, perhaps at the end, a prayer. Now in the Sikh tradition, there is what we call the ardas, which can be a personal prayer, but is often done in a group with one person speaking aloud the prayer, and it is with the intention that that one person speaking aloud embodies all the wishes and concerns and feelings of all the people there, and that there's a formal part to the ardas, and that is done, and then usually at the end there is a part that can be extemporaneous or improvised based on what's going on in the community and how to bring that forward. You know, that so-and-so might be having their final exams on their at university, and can we ask for a blessing on them to be clear-minded and successful? Can we ask for a blessing for so-and-so who's in the hospital? And, you know, so those kind of things get brought forward in the ardas within a community. But it's also a time when the community gets to feel that connection to each of those intentions as they're said aloud. So I might not have known that so-and-so is in the hospital, but as I listen to the ardas, then I connect to that situation, and I connect to the feeling within the community around that. So you might like to try doing an ardas, and each morning you can do it simply with your own words, or you can go online and at SDI, our website, sikhdharma.org, we have quite a bit of information about the ardas. On our YouTube channel, I should say, on our YouTube channel, we have a video about how to recite the ardas, and that covers the formal parts of it, and also talks a little bit about the other parts. So you might find that useful. And so as you start to use prayer on a daily basis and get more familiar with the way that feels right to you, I hope you'll think about the idea that prayer is not necessarily about being transactional. You know, it's not about I'm going to pray and be good, and then the divine will bless me with something good. It's not about what I can get. It's about what I can be blessed by just giving voice to it. I guess that's the real important thing, is that as we express the intention to be more accepting or more understanding of what is, as we express the intention that we are struggling and need help, that just in that moment of saying those things, that already wisdom starts to arrive. There's nothing that we can give to the divine. You know, the divine is already present in everything. There's nothing, even our adoration and devotional practice is not about giving to the divine. It's about giving to your higher self, giving to your practice, giving to your realization within yourself, giving to the unfolding of your soul. So as you do seva, which is service to others, it's not about that you're doing that to put your good deeds on a balance sheet so then the divine will give you something. This is more about you learning to understand what is in the moment of doing seva. What is that experience within yourself? You know, seva is intended to to benefit others. But in a big way, it is a practice that helps you unfold your consciousness, your awareness. And it's a long road of that. I mean, you can get instantaneous understanding, but you can also, over time, you really find the richness of doing seva is through patience and commitment to just being there, as the Buddhists say, chopping wood and carrying water. You know, you just do the work and surrender to it, and that in itself is a process of unfolding realization. I'm going to just look at a couple of comments here, or let's see. So, Prakash says, thank you. I will go to SDI for the formal Ardas and use it in our current prayer circle for a friend. I am so grateful to you, Pritpal, for sharing the knowledge and for being here. Well, nice to see you, Prakash. Thank you. Winnie is saying that I pray that every living being will be at peace and find love. That's beautiful. And that's kind of the highest prayer that we can have. When we embody the intention that everybody should have what they need, and sometimes having what they need might not be what I think they should have, that, you know, that's the thing about prayer, is that we have to let go to thinking that we know what is the best outcome. And so, just like that song I was saying, oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? Well, in actual fact, you know, maybe what was more appropriate for her in that song was that she should be gifted a year in rehab or something. You know, I'm just saying that we don't often know even what was best for us, or knowing what is best for others necessarily in some situations. So the idea of asking for the best outcome perhaps is the only way to really see it. When we get too specific, then we limit the universe in terms of how it may manifest, how it may arrive. And so that's a thing. You know, I said I would talk about prayerfulness in action, or prayer in action. And there's a lot of actions that we can take in a devotional way, like I said, with seva, you know, doing service to help others, feeding people who are in need of food, organizing shelters for the homeless, that kind of thing. And I think that even organizing a prayer circle, like Winnie was saying, Prakash was saying, organizing a prayer circle is a beautiful action to take as a kind of prayer. You know, that our manifesting of action can also be a prayer. That as we do something, that it is manifesting that intention to be serviceful and also in alignment with the divine. Because in the end, perhaps that's all we can hope through our prayer, is that we find alignment with the divine, with the flow of the universe, with the divine will, with the hukam, as it's said in Sikh writings. To find a space where we are not creating karma, but rather we are in the space of flowing with what is intentional, what is intended, what is the divine will in that moment. So I want to talk now, just as we come up to the closing. Next week, as you see across the bottom of your screen there, we're going to be having the program on Wednesday, Learn a Shabad. And if you would like to do that, I encourage you to come and be present in the program so you can ask questions. But if you aren't able to be there during the program, but you do want to learn the Shabad, then you can you can watch the videos of it either on YouTube or on Facebook. And the YouTube, well, either of the videos will be really helpful to you so that you can stop the video, go back to something and watch it again. It'll help you understand how to play the Shabad. You will probably want to have a harmonium or keyboard available since that's the main focus of that program. We will go through the words to the Shabad Dite Sabetav, which is a composition written by Guru Ram Das. And we'll recite those words back and forth so that you can learn how to say them. And then we'll go through the music, the melody. We'll learn one melody for this. And there are many, 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 many melodies that you can find recordings of or YouTube videos of people playing this Shabad and all the Shabads that we talk about. You don't have to stick only with one melody. And yes, you can even create your own melody if that seems within reach for you. My only caution there is that you want to sort of get down the road a piece with understanding Shabad, Guru, and Gurbani before you start to put the words to a melody. Because there is something there is an alignment that needs to happen between a melody and the intention of the Gurbani. So not every melody would work. So you'll want to maybe get a little more experience under your belt before you attempt to do that. Nonetheless, we will be doing that next week. The week after next is going to be the launch of a new program called Dialogues in Dharma. And the first program that we're doing is a discussion panel with some wonderful psychotherapists from the Sikh community looking at coping strategies for depression during this time of COVID-19. We will have 2 or 3 professionals, mental health care professionals, but also coming from the perspective of looking at what practices within the Sikh practice are particularly helpful to people during this time. And so I'm really excited about that. That's in 2 weeks. So, yeah, let's see. I see Mon Sangeet is saying, well, she missed the part of it. That's fine. She'll watch it later. That's very good. Let's see what Kiran Deep is saying here. She says, sometimes I feel that my daily prayer can be a little rote. Yes. Okay. As it's basically the same thing, but not sure. So I don't know what I'm trying to ask. Okay. That's fine, Kiran Deep. I understand that, especially when we use the form of the Ardas, that begins with the words of Guru Gobind Singh and then goes all the way to the end, Nanakanam Chardikala Teri Mani Sabatabla. We do all that form. There is a kind of routine to it that can lose the spontaneity that I was talking about. And, that's understandable, and you're not alone. I think the thing to do is, my suggestion would be to take a part of the Ardas, a few lines, and independently at a different time, just look at them, think about what they are saying, and try to understand those words from a more personal point of view, whether they're referencing the historical sacrifices or they're talking about the ways of that we intend to live as Sikhs. Just to break that down and focus on a little piece here and a little piece there, and slowly make your way through most of the ardas. That way, it might bring freshness to those words, so that each day when you say them, suddenly you're remembering what you thought about 5 days ago when you looked at those words, and it's fresh. It's more tangible to your experience of life, not just words from a book. Okay? I think that could help. And let's hear what Shabad Siri Kaur is saying. Blessings and thank you for this inspiring moments. Nothing is more powerful than prayer. May our prayers help us to open our hearts and walk through life serving others. Well, that in itself, Shabad Siri, is a prayer, and that's beautiful, and it's well said, and thank you for that. Jesse, okay, thank you. Glad you could be here today. All right, we're going to wrap it up, and I hope to see some of you next Wednesday, and I hope that this was meaningful for you. Please do share it around and like this program. That will help the word get out. And I hope that you all will stay safe, be blessed. May Guru Ram Das touch your heart, and may you feel uplifted through this time of challenge. Satnam. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.